Two things happened for the Ducks today or over the last 24 hours in recruiting. Both of them really big. One of them good, one of them bad. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the bad, because I guess I don't understand why this is allowed to happen.
And you know what? It's good that you asked that question, because Andrew Nemec will be in for recruiting with Andrew Nemec tonight, and he will have more information on this. But Ducks 5-star wide receiver commit Dallas Wilson has asked for his way out of his letter of intent. Now, we just had the National Signing Day on the 3rd.
He just signed.
Oh, apparently, there were reports he was thinking about flipping to Florida in the final hours just before signing day, but he was the Ducks' longest tenured commit. He was like the first commitment to that class like a year ago, and he's depending on where you look, he's either the second or third best wide receiver in the class. He's a top 20 player in the country, and apparently it sounds like he's likely to land at Florida. I'm guessing it has something to do with money, but he was a Duck for all this time. He actually signs on the dotted line, and then today reports out that he wants to get out of his national letter of intent.
Well, and that's my question there, because when I signed, which wasn't that long ago, you didn't get out of it. Now, I also understand that when I signed, again, less than 10 years ago, the transfer portal wasn't even a thing yet.
But just on the surface, when you sign the paper, you're signing a binding contract.
That's what I would have thought for a year. That was my understanding.
And
it is a year of a binding contract, but he's also not the first person to do this.
And also, I would imagine if you have a kid who signed on the dotted line and 2 weeks later has remorse and doesn't want to be there are a lot of coaches that are going to be like, you have to stay. We want you even though you don't want us. Like, that's unlikely. It's to me, it's an odd situation and circumstance.
Well, the other thing, too, is he is a Florida boy. Like, he is from Florida.
Why commit to Oregon in the first place?
Dude, 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, I don't know how old he is. This stuff happens all the time.
Okay, but we allow the system for them to do it in, and that's where I have an issue. The whole committing before you actually are allowed to decommit and then commit to other schools.
Because that's the thing. No one forced him to sign on the 3rd.
That's where I feel like
wait if you don't know.
This is a major issue with the system that we allow these kids to You're 18. You're gonna change your mind. Let's make it so you actually have to stick to something. Come on.
Not
everything.
Here's the thing, because you don't make the coaches stick to everything. Because if we're gonna say, hey, you sign an NIL, you're there for 3 years. Well, then guess what? The coach has to sign that contract too, and then the coach has to stay there, or else it's hypocritical, right? And the coaches are never going to agree to that. I was just under the impression that if you signed, once you signed on the dotted line, you had to go. The verbal stuff, it's why I don't pay any attention to recruiting when it's like, look at the Ducks just got a verbal commitment.
Now the ink is dry, though, so it's got to be different.
And that's where I'm going to have an issue with it. I do think that it should be different. That being said, if I'm Dan Lanning and I'm an Oregon coach,
you move on.
Dallas, go away. Go to where you want to be. If you want to be in Florida, go to Florida. It's hard to ask an 18-year-old, because I know that with the transfer portal now, you can leave every year or whatever the rule is. But essentially, the way that those kids look at it, because they think it's always going to be the best case scenario, they're going to come in, they're going to start right away, they are going to be one of the best players, because that's how those kids think. They think that it is a 4-year commitment, and that's scary. That is a big, big deal. And when you're that big of a player, I guarantee you he's got people in his family and his friends that are pulling on him and pulling on his heartstrings and asking him, why are you going to Oregon? Now I'll never get to see you play. You need to go to Florida. Let's build something special in our home state. Think about it. Oregon has never won a national title. Florida has, and they've done it under multiple coaches. And so you're going to have
they've done it in his lifetime.
Right. And you're going to have all these people pulling on different strings at different points. And so I understand at 18 how that can be so difficult, and how you might make a decision of, hey, I want to do this. And then, no, I don't actually want to do this. I want to go to a different spot in something that is such a big deal. It still feels like if you're going to sign a national letter of intent, there should be I don't know if a contract is the right word, but an understanding of you have to spend the year there. And maybe when Andrew Nemec comes on, he'll have a better explanation and it will put me more at ease. But I just know that that's what it once used to be.
Right.
That being said, dude, all the power to Dallas Wilson. I hope that he goes to Florida and he has the type of career that he wants. I remember how I was at 18. I think I thought I was going to marry 3 different girls through a 3 different month span.
But you didn't have to sign on the dotted line to do so.
I tried to.
That was a bad idea.
I might have tried to. Well, and maybe this was a bad idea for him. We don't know, right? So I'm not shocked that an 18-year-old after a couple weeks wants to change. It's one of the long lists here in college football that has to change. How do you do that? It's going to take time, and no one's going to make a change until April when the House settlement finally comes through.
Well, words don't matter already in this world of commitments and whatnot, essentially, and recruiting. So now what you're getting to, signing on the dotted line, doesn't mean anything either, which I get it. You don't want a kid there. It reminds me, actually, we'll name an adult that's done this. Billy Donovan. He jumped from college to the NBA at one point. Remember, was hired by the Orlando Magic after coaching Florida to several championships, or I think 2 in a row at the NCAA level. What, a week after the opening presser?
Psych.
Yeah, he's like, no, I think I made the wrong move too early. I want to go back to Florida. Eventually became a coach in the NBA with the Thunder. But, I understand that people change their minds, but there was a bit of a penalty for Billy Donovan after signing on the dotted line. He couldn't coach in the NBA for, I think it was 5 seasons. There was an agreement that he was not to, basically a non-compete, screw over the Orlando Magic. And these kids, I understand coaches get so many situations where they can do the same thing, but let's try to build a system of commitment and not screwing each other over in this society. Please, I know I'm going Costanza, but damn, this just pisses me off.